The Phantom Toll Booth, your gateway to music and more from a Christian perspective, presents press conferences from the only Christian music festival that really matters, the Cornerstone Festival 2012. Sit back, relax, and you will hear from some of the most fascinating, intriguing, and sometimes controversial musicians, authors, and organizations around. Tollbooth.org. Slow down and have your change ready. Thanks once again for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, at the Cornerstone 2012 Press Tent. We love that, right? Joining us this afternoon is Glenn Kaiser, talking about a solo work and a cigar box guitar project with your host, Tony LaFianza.
Maybe we'll give it a little bit. Yeah, the thing is, you can do this.
How did you get into it?
Well, let me explain a couple of things. First of all, I love challenges. And I consider myself a utility guitarist. I don't think I'm a great guitarist. I think I'm okay. I don't practice very often because I'm also a husband and a pastor, and there are other things in life I care deeply about, mainly Jesus and people. But I realized a long time ago that a lot of people feel like junk, and they don't feel like they can accomplish anything. And whether they're younger or older, it's a malady that a lot of people are afflicted by. And I started thinking, of course, as time's gone on, more and more about the environment and about stuff that gets thrown out in landfills. I'm a Linux guy. I don't use Mac or Windows. Haven't used them for years. I don't just pretend to be alternative. I am, and I am for a reason. I don't do radical to be radical for radicalism's sake. That to me, it's a waste of time. There's reason about 6 or 7, and for me, some years ago, I realized, as I'm studying blues history, I did before I was a Christian, I have since. And when I go way, 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 way back, the most primitive thing you can go for in blues are the field hollers and the ring shouts and slaves' songs, in cotton fields, where it felt about like this every day for 10, 12 hours a day, pretty much from sunrise to sunset. And the most original instruments, Jack White kind of got it, and it might get loud. But the truth is he cheated because he was using a real guitar pickup, number one. Number two, if you really want to get primitive, you just do it acoustically entirely, not like what I'm doing here with a pig nose amp and a pickup, which I'll talk about in a moment. So I'm studying blues history, and I'm thinking about all this. People don't even know why they like stuff at times. And I try to figure out, why do they like this? What draws people to this? And I started realizing that you get it right away in blues music, but you get it in other styles too if you think about it. The concept of soulfulness. I don't mean soul music, that too, but soulfulness, emotion, power, heart. That comes from a vibrato. And the reason it comes from that moving that note over the key, the actual note, you're moving below the note and above the note. That vibrato, that instead of that's okay. How about all of a sudden the feeling happens. Well, in any good soloist, whether you're guitar, electric guitar, slide, or straight guitar, electric guitar soloing, harmonica, sax. It's a little harder to do on a piano or an electric piano, but there are ways to kind of fake a vibrato kind of a vibe, that movement of that note, that brings the sense of humanity, because it's all you're doing is mimicking a human voice. It's human. And I figured out a long time ago that I'm convinced, it's a theory and a philosophy of mine, but I think it holds up no matter how you look at it, that when people say, if I could have written that lyric, I would have, because that lyric is exactly how I feel or have felt at a really meaningful point in my life. Maybe happy, maybe miserable, through a divorce, through my dad when he died of cancer, through with the church that split over the color they painted the sanctuary, whatever it is. The moment I came to Jesus, that song blew me out of the water. Or I heard these words. There's an empathy factor at the core of that. Empathy and understanding. I'm not alone. Other people feel and think like me, and whoa. And all of a sudden, I have value. I have worth. God has his eyes on me. I'm thinking, well, man, this is getting cosmic, Glenn, esoteric. Not really. People are human beings. And there's a sense of respect and understanding. And that's what I want to transmit, certainly as a musician, but absolutely as a Christian, as an evangelist, as a pastor, just as a brother in Christ, if I didn't have those gifts and callings on my life. How do you do that? And how do you do that without words? In music, you do it with a vibrato, apart from lyrics. So I started thinking, okay, well, you get into blues and you hear, Lord, Lord, you remember Glory? Lord, 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 oh my Lord, 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 Lord. They were going to go up to die the next day, storming a Confederate fort, and most of them did. That's a really poignant, Glory is a poignant movie. But the second they started doing that song, I'm like, I'm there. Somebody did their homework when they were putting that script together, and they directed that part of the movie. That's as authentic as it gets. And the more I've studied and dug as far back as I can to find public domain, that old scratchy, we're talking weird recording instruments that you can find Smithsonian. I'm listening to that stuff, and I'm hearing that vibrato and that sense of lament. 57 of the 150 Psalms, the biggest category in the lyrics of the Bible are lament. So I go back to blues. All of that comes into this. The original was not a fretted instrument. The original stuff that was going on among the slaves and the origins of the spirituals and the blues stuff, they were either completely fretless, a box and a hunk of hickory, with the bark stripped off of it and dried in the sun, with some kind of box, or some piece of something laying around the plantation or around the farm that whoever the owner was, or if they were sharecroppers, that they were able to take and use. It even gets more primitive than that. 10 penny nails, those big honking nails, about that far from the ground, on the corner post, one of the corner big beams of a barn. And they drove that 10 penny nail in there. And they drove another one up about as high as the guy could reach. Typically, guys did this. Women, I'm sure, might have, but more often than not, it was guys. And they wrapped one piece of baling wire and wrapped the other, and they pulled it until they got the note that they wanted to hear, about that far off that beam. And they would take a piece of a bottle or a whole bottle, however they could hold that bottle, wing that thing up and down on that thing, on that wire, pluck it with a finger, pluck it with a piece of a rock or a little bit flat stone. Maybe have a jackknife. Maybe take a turkey feather. A lot of times they'd raise, whatever animals on the farm. They'd take something like a feather and take that quill, the tip of the quill, and plink that thing and to one stringer, diddly bow. These are usually called diddly bows if they're one stringers. And what you're doing is you're or whatever it is. You can boogie to it. You can Amazing Grace, 1-4-5 chord. I'll show you that in a moment. The rudiments of music can be taught on a 1, 2, or 3 stringers to anybody sitting here. I don't care if you can't play nothing. I don't care if all you play is your radio, your iPod. I can teach you music on this. The rudiments, the most basic, simple guts of what it takes to do Amazing Grace in about 30 seconds. And so for me, it became, there's several things I'm trying to transmit. I'm not creative. Yes, you are. I could never build something and actually make music on it. Who told you that? Who told you that? That's not true. You never tried. You never had somebody who was patient and who's done it, who can teach you, or who took the time to teach you. So these folks were flying by the seat of their pants, and what did they have? A couple of nails, a hunk of wood that wasn't ever going to move, a baling wire, a hunk of baling wire, you know what I mean, on a farm, on a plantation, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That'll be interesting. And so the punchline to all this is, I discovered cigar box guitars years and years ago because studying blues, I heard it. I realized that's what's going on. That's what some of these guys were playing. Homemade banjos. Kill a deer, take the hide, start up the fire, brain tan it, get the scrape, soak it, get all the hair off of the hide, all the fat. You got nothing left but deer hide. You tan it, stretch it, cure it, a bunch of salt, whatever, out in the sun. Take that, and now you got a banjo head, 2, 3, 4, 5 strings, hunk of wood, piece of hickory, piece of poplar, and I take broom handles. I'll dumpster dive for a broom handle and make two necks. They're already round, perfect. Sand them a bit, couple of holes. Often I use eye bolt tuners, just the eye bolt and a wing nut. No washer, no nut. You can put 2 in, one way and one the other. You don't even need a nut up top here, because it's sometimes if you do it right, the strings are so high that you don't even need a nut to keep the string up off the neck. And I use one of those for a bridge. Little Altoid tins, I didn't, I could be there forever in this workshop, so I ain't telling everybody. I've got some workshop folks here today who've done my workshop. Stick a little Altoid tin there. It brings the strings up about that high. It's better to drill a hole through it so that it doesn't move, because once you get the bridge where it needs to go, and either no nut is needed, or you figure out, or use another Altoid tin, or heck, whatever. I mean, you use a nail up there, but you need something a little thicker, because you want the strings off the neck on a slide guitar. A 1-string diddly bow, I can build one of those in maybe 10, 15 minutes. Probably an extra 5 or 10 minutes per string, and it takes more time to tune. Now this is cheating. This is pristine. I designed this and I play it. It's got a pickup in it. It's an actual cigar box. I don't smoke. I don't recommend smoking ever. I'm going to heaven, so I ain't going to ever smoke. So the punchline is that, and you can decorate these things a zillion ways. I mean, made in China, $1 per card, a bazillion thumbtacks. If you're using gold hardware or copper, you can get the gold ones. You can take different colored buttons, and where the 12 is, the 12th, the octave fret, where you're going to do that, you can put doubles, little buttons, and super glue them. You can put them on the top. I don't bother with that. You can magic marker the whole thing, or a rainbow of colors. I've seen the most incredible designs. So you can use round necks. I recently built a metal one. It's a 2-stringer. I work at our metal shop once a week. I volunteer over there and do a good full day over there for them. And on my lunch break, in a half an hour, I bent 2 pans basically, and one just fits inside the other, about like that, not quite as thick. So here's a pan inside a pan, and then I took the snips, took a piece of conduit, metal conduit that you run like that, but thinner. I think 3/4 inch, nice and sturdy. I decided the scale, which is the length between the bridge and the nut, that I wanted a short scale so I could put it diagonally in a suitcase and fly it. Not have to pay baggage or nothing. I always got something I can whip out. Everybody freaks when they see these things anyway. It's a point of contact. People, I witness to people all the time. They have no clue who Jesus is, and they think we're all idiots. But they see one of these things and hear it, and of course I see it in their faces. I see it. I know exactly what's going on. I could make one of them. Maybe I could make. Could I learn to? That's only got 2 strings. 3. Maybe I could learn to. Could I do that? And all of a sudden, I end up sharing the gospel with people all the time, just like that. So there's so many things going on here. putting the steam in somebody's self-esteem, right? Helping people be creative who think they can't be, giving people a sense of personal value and worth, and teaching them something that they can learn music with, which can sometimes be like pulling the pin on a grenade. I know that. For years, I didn't even want to do that because I've seen so many Christians backslide over music. I'll just be blunt with you. And I'm more worried about your soul and your life with God than I ever am anything else. Anything else. I don't care if you drop dead and have a horrible life all the way until you die, as long as you're saved when you die. You know what I mean? That's just the truth, because when this is all over, none of this is going to mean snot. That's the truth. So that is where I'm at. That's where I think God is at the end of the day. But he doesn't want people to suffer and be miserable. And music is one of the coolest ways to lament and to praise and to give thanks. So, one stringer or a two stringer or a three. Now, as a musician, as I said, I consider myself a utility guitarist. I don't think I'm no such a much. And if I practiced even an hour a week, I'd probably be a lot better guitarist than I am. Slide guitarist and regular and everything else. But I've got a wife and kids and grandkids, and my priorities are people, my God and my people. And then comes stuff like music. So I'm building these things all the time. I put that piece of conduit through there, screwed it, drilled through with metal bits, stuck a couple of eye bolt tuners in with wing nuts, and I wondered, are they going to hold? Eye bolts with wing nuts hold like you can't believe, even in metal. I know, I've done it and it works. And what I did on that was, instead of drilling a hole in the bottom and just pulling it right up to the string nut, it's a little bit smaller than the nut on the end of the string, on that one, and on a round neck, you can do it if you want to just keep it to a two-stringer. You just wrap the string and then put the string right through the nut, the string nut. One way, one the other. They come right around that thing. And for a two-stringer, it went right up, right into the eye bolts. I strung it up, tuned it. Sounds like a dobro, man. It's a full-on metal. It's all simple, very simple, all metal, holds a perfect tune. And inside of here is a pickup. That pickup is a flat, round Piso pickups, which anybody here a guitarist, they get used sometimes in acoustic guitars, rarely in an electric guitar. Pisos, instead of working like a regular guitar pickup or a microphone, they take vibrations. It's not sound waves, it's vibrations. So you put one right between the neck and the top of the box, or right under it. And I've even got some where I put them right under the bridge, and I only made just enough indentation, to kind of help hold that bolt in there as a bridge. And I put that Piso pickup right. Now, where did I get that? Radio Shack, their doorbell buzzer elements. And the biggest one you can get, the bigger the better, for a full range frequency response, low end to high end. They're a little under $4. They come encased in plastic with 2 leads. If you vary, and you got to do this carefully because you can bust them easy. I mean, you're out $4, right? But whatever. You gently take a couple of pliers, maybe a needle nose and a regular one, and you pull back the plastic off of them that's around these things. You carefully take them apart. There's a little metal, cheap little flimsy metal ring around them and 2 pieces of plastic. Now you got a flat Piso element. You stick it wherever you want on the box, as long as it doesn't touch metal. If you want to do a metal can or a canjo, put it inside of a can. You can also make harmonica mics out of these things. You can sing through them. They're unbelievable. Anyway, that's another story. But you can't let them touch metal, so you use packing tape. Just whoop, whoop. Simple. And then you send the leads. You solder them to a 1/4-inch input. Your standard guitar jack input. And again, you can't let that touch metal or they'll short out. Like, there's no metal in this at all. And it's inside. It's either under the neck or inside. I forget where they put this. I can't even remember anymore. One of the two. And these are shut forever. We seal these boxes so they don't open up. So there's a zillion workarounds. There's 6 ways to do everything. But at the end of this, you end up with a guitar that you can plug into a box, a distortion box, an echo unit, a reverb unit, or whatever you want, a wah-wah pedal, plug it right into an amp, plug it into a Marshall. Piso pickups will scream at you. They are flipping nuts. I mean, and depending on the wood, the box, there's a lot of variables where you place that pickup. The tightness, because you want pressure as tight as possible, that Piso pickup. And then there's no volume, although you can wire one in. You can also double them, so you can use 2 Pisos to 1 input. Gives you a little more range. You can place one way. There's a guy in Memphis named John Lowe. He created something called a Lobo. There's a band called Purgatory Hill up in Manitowoc that uses a Lobo. That's all the guy ever uses. Timbuktu, the guy from Timbuktu. And Lobo, it's a 4-stringer with 2 dowel rods. They found the straightest ones they could, right, from Walmart or Menards or Lowe's. A couple of dowel rods. You do with a couple of broom handles if it's solid enough wood. Right next to each other. Puts them together with hose clamps. Uses an A bass string and 3 guitar strings. 2 Pisos that cover the guitar strings and 1 that cover the bass string. Wires it all up. 2 jacks, 1 to a bass amp, the bass string, 1 to a guitar amp with the guitar string. Plays it with a slide. Killer. So I'm just going to make a little noise, and if anybody has any questions, and then we're done.
Glenn,
We're done.
may I ask a question, please?
Absolutely.
Now that Cornerstone is over, how will people learn to make these from you?
You can learn, go to cigarboxnation.com.
Thank you.
So it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. But the possibilities, as you see, are pretty endless. And it's just a chord. I let the box tell me. It's like an octave. Ba, ba. It's like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, do. And so is the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's all it is. It's a chord. You can tune them any number of ways. Down to the crossroad, I fell down on my knees. I went down to the crossroad, I fell down on my knees. Did my little buffalo chase said, "Say I mean, you can go on for days, right? There's a million ways. How many 3-chord songs are there? Amazing Grace, how sweet. There's the 4-chord, the sound. 1 chord. Open. Save the rest like 5 chords of me. I'm one so lost. Down. 5 chords. I see. The only thing you gotta learn is how much pressure. And these are for 99 cents at the Chicago Menards. One more thing. You can lay it down on a tabletop. Or you can put it in your lap. That's why I like these little puppies here. And the other thing you can do, get a dowel rod or whatever. You can be a punk, you can do anything you want. Goth, go nuts. I love cigar box guitars. I love found object junk. I got one made out of a bedpan. Like I said, a guy made one out of a canoe paddle today, a little boy. It is the coolest. So the possibilities are endless. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn Kaiser and a cigar box guitar.
On sale at the Gurr Records booth.
Yeah, they are actually.
They are on sale at the Cigar Records booth. Thanks for stopping by the Phantom Toll booth on YouTube. Before you go, make sure you visit our website and browse around our album, movie, concert, and book reviews, the latest music news, and our extensive archives dating back 16 years. Bookmark our site, check out our videos and news feed. Make room for that shadowy structure on your journey ahead. Tollbooth.org, slow down, and have your change ready.